Hello everyone, welcome to Brenda's Brushstrokes and Bisque painting live on August 13th at 7 Central Time, where we paint our subscription boxes for the month. And we are working on our July box, which is our Jangle in July, which is our elf Jangle and our two snowbirds. So this is what our finished piece will look like. And our subscription box included the little pot of snow and glitter and your pin lights, and as well as your clip light that was in the box as part of your subscription price. So we'll be working on that when we get him just a little bit further. And then we have our two little birds as well. So last week we got our our jangle as far as our green done on our tree. And we went a little quick, so we actually did forget to do the green on our tights and on our hat band, but that's okay. So that's where we're going to pick up at, which is number 6, which is on our instruction technique sheet, which is designed especially for the boxes by me and Courtney. So we're actually going to go back up here to number 5. We're going to add our Lexington green to our tights, our hat band, and our tassel. So I'm going to grab a dry brush. So this is our tassel and our hat band and our tights, so it's not a huge area. So I'm going to go with my about a size 5 boar bristle dry brush. And I'm going to use round. You can use round or flat. And I'm going to start with my darkest color, which is Lexington Green by Holliday, which is DH26. And we're going to give that a little shake. And I put it on my foil, or you can use a tile or paper plate, whatever works for you. And I got some dried up ink in the top of there, so let's see here. We'll take the top right off. And I got enough for a year. We'll just pour a little bit of that back in there. So I'm just going to take my dry brush and touch the edge of my green and brush it out on my paper towel. You can use coffee filters, cotton t-shirts, what else? Brown paper bag. And you just want to brush out most of your Lexington green that you started with, and then you want to brush back and forth across our little tights here and get those green. Or if you wanted to do a different color, you could do that as well. So his little, where his legs meet, you want to go across that so that the dark color stays down in there for your shading. And where the boots and the shirt meet, you want to go the other direction, up and down. And we'll grab some more green. And I'm just going to keep turning him and letting that front dry. And I actually won't do a lot of up and down so that the green gets all over the red, but I'll just kind of work it down right to where the red and the green meet, leaving that dark brown down in there. And we'll just keep turning him around. So you can see that base coat is dried really nice because it's been sitting from when we first did it, so the color goes on there really nice and quick. So if you are having troubles with your paint going on, one of the things you might want to do is just let your piece dry, walk away from it and come back. So I'm just brushing back and forth instead of the up and down so that I don't get the green all over my red. But I'm just taking it right down to where the two meet, or right up, and right over to the tree. And we'll grab a little more. I'm going to actually just turn him around so I can get his little hat band here, and that's a little too wet, so just brushed it out a little more. You could switch to a smaller brush right at this point here. I usually don't. I just do smaller strokes. And I don't want to brush across my texture where the hat and the face meet because I don't want to get green all over his face. So I just do like a little backwards comma or a C stroke, and I just slowly start away from where I want it to meet, and then I nudge up to where it meets, leaving just a little bit of that black brown down in there. And it doesn't matter if you go from right to left or left to right. And if you do get a little bit on the flesh, that's okay, you can go back and touch it up. And then we'll work it right up to his little ear there and right up to our tree. And you can brush back and forth where there's room. And I probably got to turn him around here a couple different times to get him where I want him. So we have our red hat in our band, and I don't want to get my green on my hat, so I'm just going to do those little strokes here. Hopefully you can see it. There's a delay in the camera, so I'm not sure if it's too close or not. Huh? Courtney's working on getting things set up here. So again, I'm just doing those little strokes. Looks like I'm in the camera screen. And I just want to get my green right up to my red. And it's okay if it gets on his hair. So hopefully my hands are not in the way too much. Kinda-ish, Courtney says, okay. See if I can hold on to it further down. So normally you go across that texture, but because we don't want green all over that hat, I'm not going across it, I'm kind of going with it right up to it. And then I can go up and down here. Yep, looks like they can see. So I'm going to turn him around again, rest him on the table so I can get a nice steady picture for you guys, and we'll just work our green up to our hair and up to his face. Again, you have to do those little strokes when you're close to the face and the ear so you don't get that green all over it. And we'll do the same over by the ear here. I just start away and work towards it. And again, we'll do kind of go along where the hat and the face meets instead of going across it so we don't get his face all full of green. And then I can kind of brush back and forth. And we'll turn and come around by the back of his ear here. Now I got green on his hat. Because I have green on my fingers. Not sure where that came from, but...
So everybody's but 2 Texas boxes got delivered.
So Courtney just checked everyone's
They're in Texas, but they're at distribution centers.
August boxes, and everyone except 2 Texas boxes are delivered. They're at the
2 of them are
at the distribution centers in Texas, so hopefully they
it's a toss-up.
get them out. But otherwise, everyone else should have their boxes for August. So now where his hair is on the back, I'm just going kind of just right up to it as well. And we're just going to work our way around. Come right up to the tree. So has everyone got to open their boxes, and did you like them? So I did flip him around here so now I could come back and do the top of his hat rim. Again, I'm just going kind of with my texture, right where the hat band meets the hat. Just because I don't want to go up and down and get my hat all full of green. And if you get green on there like I have some there, we can go back and touch that up later. I'm just brushing back and forth and building up our Lexington green on the hat band. You could do these in any colors. I did one in white and one in green. I guess I did the other one in green, white too. One's red and green and one's white and green. So you can see this is Jangle, and he was done with the white and green. And then we have Pepperminster, and he was done with the red and the white. So you can change out your colors. You don't have to do them exactly the way I painted them. It's just kind of a starting point. So I'm just working my Lexington green right up to the crevice where the hat and the brim and the band meet the hat. And getting the hat band nice and covered with Lexington green right up to the hair. Grabbing my green from my pile and brushing it out on my paper. Now I've moved to my tassel, and I'm just being careful to not get it all over my hat. Just work it right up to the hat where it joins, the hat and tassel join. And you do have to keep changing its direction so you can get it in all the little places. And if you're having trouble with the size 5, just switch to a smaller brush, or even a flat one you can turn on its side.
We should have a full set of flat now.
Cordy said you guys have a full set of flats now if you've been subscribing with us since May, so hope you're enjoying using your brushes.
September's will start round.
And in September we will start with the round brushes as the extra in our box. So our boxes aren't just Bisque, they include extras as well. They do not include the paint or the sealer usually to finish your pieces.
But we'll cover the shipping if they.
If you purchase extra items and you message us, we can add them to your invoice if you wanted paint or brushes or brush on seal or any of that kind of stuff. Next month's box is going to have a little bit of gloss brush on sealer on it because we're going to be adding some glitter to our pieces. We don't want snow on our Halloween pieces, so we're going to use the brush on sealer to add our glitter. So I just got his little tassel all nice and green, and we got his little hat band. I can see my flesh color through here, so I'm just going to touch that up a little bit more, get a little bit more green on there, kind of around the little ear. You can see the color goes on really nice once that base coat is dried really well, so if you are having trouble, just let your maybe base coat and let your piece sit for a day or even a couple hours and then come back to it. So we have his stockings base coated, and we have his tassel not base coated, dry brushed with our Lexington green. So now we're going to go back to our instructions, and we have we got our tights tree. We already did the tree last week, so we're just catching up with our tights and our hat band and our tassel because we kind of skipped that trying to get through the tree last week. So we're on number 6. We're going to use our bright green. Let's see, I don't have bright green up here. So I have my Duncan OS 460, my bright green, and we're going to put that on the hat band and the tassel and his tights. I'm gonna make sure I'm looking at the right finished one, so I got doing the right thing here. Switch things around here a little bit. Okay. So I just shook up my bright green a little bit. And now I'm going to go with my same brush that I had and just dip it in that bright green. That'll give us a nice gradual color change instead of a sudden color change. And now we're going to brush the bright green on his tights and on his tassel and on his hatband. And that's going to give us our second layer, well actually our third layer of shading because we have the black brown under there already. And that's what gives your piece lots of shape and color. So I'm just brushing back and forth. So again, I don't want to get my bright green all over my red, just like with the Lexington green. So you do make exceptions of not always going across your texture. We are going across where the two legs meet, but we're not going across where the red and the green meet because we don't want to get that red all full of green. And I am going across where the tree meets, the trunk of the tree meets the little legs. And we'll just get that built up a little bit. And I'm just going to work my way back to the front because now the front's dried a little bit. And just nudge it right up to where the two meet. And go across the center there. Keep that shading and down in the where the two legs meet. And we'll have to turn him so I can get a little bit closer to the bottom here. And a little bit over here yet. So now we'll let that dry. And we'll come up to our hat and we'll just do the same thing as what we did with our Lexington green. We just want to work that bright green. I went with the bright green because it's a different color than the tree green, so I wanted his hat to be a little different. I didn't want it to blend right in with that tree. So again, I'm going with my texture here, being where the hat meets the head, because I don't want to go across it, because then I would have my face all full of the bright green, and we really don't want to do that if we don't have to. It's okay if we get it on the hair because the hair is higher than the hat band, and we'll be working on that at some point here. I'm just going to keep brushing around on his little hat band, bring it right up to where the hat band meets the hat. And just keep turning him. We're going to do these that little C stroke, so to speak, here by his ears. Again, because I don't want to get green all over everything. Seems like I got a wet, heavy hand here tonight with painting, because it's a little wetter than what I like it to be for dry brushing. Just nudge it right up to his face. You just start away and work towards it, and you can see right where your paint is laying down. And we got to get past his ear. Again, I'm just going to brush back and forth, bring it right up to the ear, right up to the hat. And then we can go with a little bit bigger strokes here because we got more room. So let's see what we got. Any questions going on? Looks like Courtney's catching up with Mary. So we worked. Mary had came and helped on Saturday and helped log the mold. So that was a huge help.
We have more coming.
Because we have more coming on Sunday, so we had to get the pallets emptied. And then Courtney came on Monday, and Casey was gonna help, but at that point I was already beat, so I called it a quits for the day.
Have you been back?
No, yes, I've been back since Monday. I haven't been back. I haven't had time.
Oh, that should be fine.
So maybe I'll get there tomorrow. Straighten it out a little bit more.
How about tomorrow?
Oh, we're gone tomorrow. That's right. I won't be there tomorrow.
Saturday.
I guess Saturday then. So now I do have a little shiny spot right here, and you can kind of see the Lexington green through that. I need to let that dry. The paint was too wet. I need to brush my brush out a little more. So I'm going to actually let my hat band and let that dry and go to his tassel. So if you ever end up with like a shiny spot like that, just let it. You get too much paint on it and it wants to just smear. Just let it dry, and then come back to it. So we're just going to do our bright green on our little tassel here. And just work it right up to his little hat. And you just keep turning him. You do want to let some of your Lexington green, like 1/8 of an inch of it, because that's what's giving your shading from your black brown to your Lexington green and then to your bright green. And then we just keep turning him. Building it up. Just doing little strokes because it's just a little spot. And I gotta brush that out some more. So now we'll come back over to our hat here. Build up our green. So just doing little strokes back and forth, building it up, because it's just a little area. And you want to get across the top of his head there where his hair is. And then we're going to just turn it and come by his ear. And we can go with little bigger strokes here because we have a bigger area. But again, I'm going with my texture where the hat and the band meet, just so I don't go across it and get my green all over my hat. And we'll come back to his little stockings down here on the bottom and do the same thing. Just build that up and get it a little bit brighter with that green. So it's good if you can just let one area dry and just go to the next area and work on that, and then go to the next one, and then just come back and start all over. That way that color dries, and when you come back it'll take more of the color, and you just keep building it up. And we're just brushing across our little center texture there, our crevice. And we just try to bring it right up to his shirt. And then we'll turn him around and try to bring it right down to his stockings, his shoes. If I went up and down, I would have his whole boot full of green, and then we'd have to go back and touch that up. So just brushing back and forth here, building up our bright green. And we need just a little more, I think. So we'll get his little tassels here with some more on it. And this could have been, you could have made his tassel white too. It's really whatever you want to do. There's no written law that you have to paint them exactly the way I did them. It's just a starting point. an idea. So feel free to change out your colors. I know one of our ladies is painting hers blue, which I would probably paint mine for myself blue as well, because I'm kind of a blue. I like blues. So I'm just going to be careful here by his ears. Just going with that bright green yet. Just want to build it up a little bit more. And he's just about to where I would like him, I guess you could say. And so I'm just going to get the bottom here a little bit more, where his tights are. Okay. So then I'm going to lay my brush aside and we're going to go to our instructions, and we have, let's see, we have dry brush the tree leaf green and then Limeburst the highlights. We did that before, so now we're going to do number 8. We're going to paint our white stripes on our tights over the green. So we're going to get our white. So I just have our Duncan white OS 431. And I'm going to shake that up just a little bit and get a little pile of it on my foil there. And I'm going to grab me a nice, you want a good liner for doing the nice straight lines. Let's see, which one am I going to use? Which one did we have in the box party that was their gift? This 595. Okay, so I'm going to use this liner was in our September or July box, which was our anniversary gift, so it's a nice little detail liner. And that's what I'm going to use to paint our stripes on our tights. So it's APB 5950 liner. It's a detail liner. I don't have my long liner in there. The script liner will have about a little bit longer of a brush. So on it, okay. So Courtney grabbed it for me. So this is the difference between a detail liner and a script liner. You can see that the detail liner, the one on my left, has shorter hairs than the one on my right, which is a script liner. It's not quite double in length, but it is a longer haired brush, and that's good because it holds more paint in it and you can go further with your paint. So these are both actually 5.0 liners, but one is with the shorter bristles is a detail liner and the other one is a script liner. So depending upon what you like, I prefer the script liners, but this is our detail liner that a lot of people should like, and it was our anniversary gift to you guys. It was in your box, so that's what we're going to use. So I'm just going to dip that in my white paint, and I'm going to just kind of make half circle turns and load it up with my white. And then you can decide how many lines of white you want in your green. So we already have the green on there, so all we have to paint is the white. So I'll start with our white. And the lines are maybe 1/4 of an inch. So you want to anchor your piece nice on your table and have a good hold of it. A lot of times I'll hold the stuff in my lap. But since we're on camera here, we're going to hold it on the table, and then I'm going to anchor my painting hand right on his shoe. What? Courtney asked if she should zoom in. Sure, you can zoom in. So we'll give her a second to zoom in here. Do you need me to move? Okay, so she says we're zoomed in. So I have my piece anchored on the table. I'm holding onto it tight. I have my painting hand. You can see it's anchored right. This part of my hand is right on my piece. And I have a hold of my brush, kind of right where the metal ferrule part meets the wood part. I loaded it up with the white. I'm going to come about 1/4 of an inch down where I want my white, and then I'm going to touch it and I'm going to draw it towards me. You don't have to get this one, the very first one exactly perfect. We just want to kind of get them the size that we want. So I'm actually going to, my white isn't flowing like I would like it to flow, so I'm going to just dip my brush in the water and then put the brush into the paint. Hopefully you can see that. And I'll just thin that a little bit so it's more like ink, and hopefully it'll flow better now. But I have my hand rested back on my piece again. And I'm going to go where my 1/4 inch is. Now you can see how nice that paint is flowing now. I didn't want to do that at first. It was kind of stuck.
He asked if there was a stencil for this part.
So I guess we have a question if there's a stencil for this part. No stencils. No stencils. So now I have my first one, and I have like a 1/4 inch and then of the green, and I have about just less than a 1/4 inch of the white, so I'm going to leave about a 1/4 inch of green again, and then we'll do our white. And you just want to start marking it kind of where your width should be, so that's about what I want. And again, I'm going to come at the top and I'm going to draw it towards me. And I'm not moving my hand, I'm only moving my thumb and my index finger when I do this part of it. You can turn your piece a little bit if you want. I'm going to grab a little bit of paint. Again, I'm anchoring my hand on there. I'm going to touch the bottom of my line. And I'm just going to pull it towards me, but I'm only moving my thumb and my index finger when I'm pulling that. And then I usually go back and touch this one up because now that one's dried. And it needs a little more paint. So now I have my little 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to leave my little 1/4 inch again, and it's less than a 1/4 inch, but it's more than 1/8 of an inch too. So now I want my little next white stripe, left about a 1/4 inch of my green. Draw it towards me. And we want to have that about a 1/4 inch wide. You kind of have to adjust this here where his little booties are. So just go back and touch these up a little bit. Give them a little more paint. Again, so I just take my brush and dip it in the water, and then I touch my pile of paint. Draw some paint out and just make a little pile so you can see that. And it's just a little bit thinner in that little pile. It's more like ink than thick paint. And that will make that flow a lot better for you. So again, I'm going to go to my top one, and I start with the far, because I'm right-handed, I start with the far left and then work to my right. Probably if you're left-handed, you'd want to start from the left, the far right, and work to your left. If I started on the right and went to the left, I could end up getting my fingers in the far right. So I do start on the far left and then work to the right to keep my fingers out of fresh paint. So now I'm just going to pick up kind of where I left off on this first one and just draw it towards me. So Cordy asked if you could cheat and draw the line on with a pencil. Yeah, you could. If you need to draw them on first, you could draw them on first. And then I'm just making sure that they're kind of straight and not zigzaggy, and then stay the same width. And just bring it over to my center. And I didn't go all the way because I'll turn him to do the rest. So now I go back to my second one, and I do start not right on my line, but just like when I'm doing the eyes, I start away from the line of the top edge, and then I merge over to it, and that way I can pretty much get that line lined up right where I want it. And again, I'm just drawing it towards me. And if it's a little crooked, that's okay. You can go back and touch it up with the green if you have to. So again, I'm going to start in my white, merge it over to that bottom part of my stripe, and then just draw the brush towards me. But I'm only moving the tip of my index finger and my thumb. I'm not moving my whole hand to make that brush move. And again, I didn't take it all the way down. So now I'm going to, this one here, depending upon where your line is, you may not, so my line is a little bit higher on this one. On the original one, it's just down in the crevice here. But now on this one, it's a little higher, so I have to pick up where I left off. So you kind of have to adjust a little bit. It all depends. So again, I'm starting in my white. I merge over to my line so I can get it straight. And I just come across. And then here I have to, because the shoe is in the way, you kind of have to adjust how your white stripe looks. You have to like narrow it at the top of the shoe there, and then bring it back down at the bottom part. So now I do have to turn him, and I'm going to move my paint so I don't get my hand in it. I'm going to straighten out my bottom one here just so it looks a little better. And I'm going to dip my brush in that water again and then make myself another little pile of thin white paint. It's like ink. So I'm going to start on my top one, and I'm going to put my brush right where I want my white line to end, although that's my starting point. It's also my ending point for where his legs meet. And then I can just meet them up, and I'll go to the bottom and put where I want that one to start, and then meet it up. And now I can join the two up at the inner part of the leg there and fill that in. And I did leave a little bit of a room in that crevice. That just helps, gives that shading down in there. So I'm going to touch this up a little more because my line got a little narrower there. Again, I'm just drawing it towards me, and then I paint out my paint. And we're going to grab some more. We go to the next stripe, and I'm going to start where I basically want it to end. I had too much in my brush, so I'm just touching my foil to get some off. So I'm going to start with my top, and I want him to end or start right underneath the other one. Again, I just draw it towards me. And we'll go to the bottom. And do the same, you just draw it towards you, and now we're going to join the top and the bottom. And then just touch up and down with your brush to fill it in. And I'm going to grab some more, and I'm going to drag it out here a little further because I can see through my white yet. And we'll come and do that on the top because that's dry, but I can see through it. And the more you push down on your brush, the more the bristles will spread out. So that'll help with your coverage. So now we're going to go to his little bottom stripe here. And again, I'm going to start where I want it to really end in between his legs there. So I'm just going to start right there, join it up, and then I have to start where the shoe meets, so it could be narrower or wider. It all depends how your stripes are coming along. So he's taking a dip here, so I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. And I'm just filling in my white so it's got a nice coverage. And we'll turn him. And again, I'm grabbing some white water in my brush and working that into a little pile of paint to thin it out a little bit. So now he's, so I'm gonna actually look at him, and I need to build this up a little more because it's kind of going downhill here. So I'm actually gonna start back at the beginning here, and I don't want to do it too much because I don't want that stripe to be wider than all the other ones, but it is going downhill. So I'm just gonna make it a tad wider on that end there, and then I can fill it in here so it's not see-through, seeing the green through the white. So you do have to go back and touch up your white to get it built up. So this is a really good little brush that was in your box, and you guys get to use it for the stripes, so that worked out pretty good, I think. So hopefully you're using it and you get to like it. It's a good eye brush as well. And that was just our anniversary gift to you guys for joining us in our subscription box ride. So I'm just touching up my white because I can see my green through it, so you don't want to be seeing green through your white. And again, I'm always resting that painting hand. Anytime you're doing any little detail work like this, you got to rest that painting hand on something, whether it's the table or your lap, your thigh, whatever, your piece. So again, I'm going to turn him around. I can see my green through my white here. And it's a little jagged line, so I'm going to straighten that out. And then just draw that white towards me to fill that in and get nice coverage. Same with my middle one, straighten him out. There's a little bit of a jag in there. And now there's even more. So sometimes you do more than you do good, so sometimes you have to know when to quit. And we'll do the top one just a little bit more. But again, if you draw your brush towards you, that also helps, instead of away from you. Alright, so there's his little stripes, so looking pretty good. So now we got the other one. So I didn't line them up exactly the same. They're pretty close to being the same though. So that's up to you if you want to have them like totally, like if you wanted the green with the white and then the white with the green. I made them green and green, white and white, green and green. So that's how we're gonna go with that. So again, I'm gonna dip my brush in the water and mix up that paint. Hopefully you guys can see this here. I'll bring it in. And it's just this little pile right here. This is my regular paint, and you can see that's a lot thicker. But because I just touched my brush in the water and then take that little bit of paint and mix that up. If you have a palette knife, you can do that with a palette knife. We haven't sent a palette knife yet in one of our boxes, but I'm going to be checking into that for one of our extras for next year. But it would be better if you could use a palette knife. Or sometimes the brushes will have the slant on the end. You can mix your water and paint that way. That helps save on your brushes. What? Yep, I just showed them that. But this is just a little bit of paint. We're not mixing a whole lot of paint, so I do use just dip the brush in the water and then mix up that. You can see that's kind of like ink now. And then I draw my brush through it and kind of turn it, and that loads it up, and then I'll do an extra little one, and that takes the excess paint out of my brush. So now we want to match up we want to do our bottom. So I want to look at, again, I'm resting him on the table and I'm resting my hand on him. So now we're going to do our other leg, and we're just going to do the same thing. So I want to match this leg up with that one, so I'm going to start right there with the top. And then just draw it right towards you. And then if you just lift as you get over to the edge. And then if it's probably right down to the bottom, will be about our 1/4 inch again. So we'll just go right where the red and the green meet. But he's got a curve in there, so we have to curve this. And then we can join our top and bottoms. And then we can paint that in. And then we'll continue that part when we turn it more. So now we'll go to our next one and we're gonna again line that right side up with that right side. And then I can line up the top. And we can do our up and down to join them. And then fill it in. So my bottom one and top one are a little bit wide. You can see that my green on this side is a lot thinner than the green over there, but we can just add a little green later once we get our, we just have to get our basic lines in and then we can adjust. And now we'll do our top one. Again, I just start where I want it to start there. Draw it towards you. You can see with that little bit of water in there, that paint just flows right out of that brush, right onto your piece. And we'll join the top and the bottom. Draw it towards you. So now this leg we actually have to go all the way around. However, I'm going to finish my bottom stripe here. And it's kind of out of room because now my shoe came up. So I just kind of end it right there and fill it in with some white so I can't see my green through it. Okay, so now we're going to look at the next one. And I'm going to draw it towards me, and you just kind of want to imagine that that line is going to come right about here, and probably we should be able to make it. It should just touch the top of his shoe there, and that should be a good line. So we'll start in the white, draw over to your line right where you want it. And then when you push down too much like that, you get that. That's alright, we'll fix that with the green. You just draw it towards you. And then we'll come at the top one. And now I'm going to actually bring it towards me so I can join these up. So now this shoe is going down further, so we're going to have green exposed on the bottom side. So I just kind of want to line that up where that, I think it would start, which is going to be about right there. And bring it to my last line. So you can see it's joined up now. And it's a little crooked, that's okay, we can fix that up. So again, I'm going to do my top line, draw it towards me, and we can fill this in. And now we can go to our next one, and we'll start about here. There, and fill it in. Okay, so I'm going to turn him because now I want to look and I just want to keep my lines going straight. So now his shirt is higher here, but then it's going to come down. So I'm going to have more green here and less green right about here. So that's where I'm going to aim for. So I'm actually keeping my lines straight, and I'm not going with the contour of the clothes themselves. I'm going more with as if you were using a level, like to have a board level, so that otherwise the lines would be here and then it would come up, which is okay if that's what you wanted to do, but I wanted his lines to look straight on his legs, just like if you had tights on. And sometimes you gotta just keep turning them back and forth so you can keep those lines going straight here. So now from this side it looks like I went up a little too far, so I'm actually gonna probably bring it back down, and I'll have to cover that up with some green. So depending upon what side you're looking at, it can look different. So we're gonna go where I think it should go and join these two up. And now this guy's like way up, and we're just gonna let that. I'm gonna come down here where it should be, and to keep him straight. And then I'll cover that up with the green. So that's how you can fix that if you get off. So we're just gonna let that, but I still want my white line to be straight, so I'm gonna cover that part up with the green, so it's straight. So now we're gonna do this bottom one. And I gotta get a little water in my paint here because I need some more thin stuff. So now I'm gonna look at where I would start, which is about right here and about right there, and I'm gonna join those two up. And grab some more paint. And we'll join this one up. And paint that out. Join our top and our bottom. Okay. Again, right now we want to join this one up, so I'll put these dots here because that might help you see. So I'm going to put where I would start the bottom one and the top one. So you might want to do that, that might help you. Get a little bit bigger one there so you can see it. So now I'm going to line that one up with the bottom and this one up with the top. And again, I got my piece on the table, and even though he's in a different angle, I'm still always anchoring that painting hand onto him so I can get that steadier hand. And I just draw it towards me and match them right up. And then we'll come to the top one and do the same thing. I'm just drawing that brush to me using these two fingers, not this whole hand. I'm not doing the whole wrist, I'm just doing these two fingers. So I'm going to join my top and my bottom here. And then we're going to paint that out. And we need more on the bottom because we can see our green through. So it does take a couple coats of the white to get your green covered up. But again, I'm always resting that hand, painting hand on my piece. Just keep coming back till we get this whole section. Whoop. Little saliva, we'll take that off because that's dried from last week. So again, and I'm just resting with my fourth finger right on my elf here. Now you can kind of, when you're putting those second and third coats of white, you can kind of straighten out your line if you have little divots in it. just work right around to the front here. And get him nice and straight. Nice coverage so you don't see green through it. And we'll turn them so I'm always pulling towards me instead of away. It's just easier that way. Touch this bottom one up a little bit. And now we'll touch our top one up. So I'm just resting my fourth finger right on his toe, but then this part of my arm is also on the table, which also helps sturdy everything up. Again, just draw it towards you. And we'll turn him again. So now here's where we kind of went off with our white, but we're just going to let that because we'll come back with the green and we'll be able to touch that up. Always rest that painting hand on your piece. We'll just draw it in here and fill this in so we don't see green through our white. And that does take a few coats. So we're just filling it in. Okay, so now we do have our other little leg to do here, so we're going to do that quick. I'm just going to grab a little more water in my white. Again, I can put my little white dots right where I want to start that line me up with the other two bands there. So now his shoe starts coming up a little bit as we get towards the tree, so the green will be less. But I try to keep the bands on the same levelness so that when you look at them, they're straight. So I'm just drawing it towards me, painting it out. Join the top and the bottom. So we'll go to our next one here. Join our top and bottom, and then fill it in and straighten anything out. Come back and touch the other one up a little bit because it's dried already a little bit, and then come back and do that one, and then we'll turn him around, and now we can do our other connections. We'll do our little white dots again, and that might just help you to guide your lines to keep them straight. So we'll join our top ones, then the bottom one, and then we'll join the two, and then fill it in, and then kind of paint out any white you got in there so you don't have a puddle, any puddles. Again, we'll join these guys up. Join the top and the bottom of your band, fill it in. Again, you can see I'm still resting that painting hand on my piece. You gotta rest, you gotta have that secure so you're not shaking all over the place. And we can turn him around now and fill this in because this is dried. Get a nice coat of white on our stripes so we're not seeing green through them. Straighten out your line if you can, or if you need to. Same with our bottom one. So here I am pulling away because I'm just being lazy. I don't want to turn the piece. but I'll turn it and do it the way I should do it because it'll just make it easier. And I have to turn it anyway to do the next. I want to get a little more. I can see this dried now. I can still see my green through my white, so I just want to get a little bit more white on there. And we'll just work it back around. And then I just want to double check that my white's covered really well. I can see green through here, so we'll just touch this one up a little bit. Again, I'm still resting that painting hand right on my piece. Just want to have good coverage with your white. You don't want to see green through it. Okay, so I'm going to wash out my brush. And then I'm going to pat it on my paper towel. And I'm going to now dip into my water again. And I'm going to go to my bright green now and make me a little ink pile here. So it's just a little thinner. Load up my brush. And now is when you can fix up any bad news. The worst part I have is right here, so I'm actually just going to start where it's good and work to where it's bad so I can cover it up. So I started in my green and merged it over to my green and white meat. And now I can fix my line, except I can't see it, so I'm going to start from the other direction. And I'm actually just going to do the whole thing so that the green matches, because this isn't, it's straight and not out of the dry brush. So I'm going to start right at the end, right next to my white. And just get a nice coat of the green on there. And now where it's off kilter here, we'll straighten it out. And that may take a couple coats because the white's pretty bright. Again, I'm starting in my green and merging over to my white. That way I can see where that line is and where I want it. You can see I'm almost rid of my boo-boo here. And now we joined up our greens. I gotta come down just a little bit more. And I'm gonna take my green up a little bit so I have the same shade of green all the way around. And we'll just keep coming right up along our white. That'll help straighten out any little zigs that you don't want there. And we'll bring it right to the center. And again, I'm going to turn them so I can pull away from, or pull towards me. Now you can see we have our white fixed, but we got white coming through the green, so we'll have to touch that up a few times. So this is a little more detail work. It takes just a little bit more time, but it adds nice detail to the piece. So that's how you can do some stripes. So I'm actually going to come back and do my other two green ones as well, so my green matches, because it's straight green instead of the green that was in the dry brush. So we'll do these other ones as well. And then if you found that your white is too narrow, you can, or too wide, you can narrow it up with the green. And you can straighten it out. So I'm just going between my whites and making my greens the same color green because I had to touch up the one white section there where I made it too wide. And we'll do the bottom one here. And I'm just giving them a little extra coat of green so I don't see through it. And we'll do the middle one here. And I'm just running the brush right along where the green and the white meet, just making a nice straight line because I have a few. It's like here, right here, it gets a little wider, so I don't like that. I usually go back and try to just make it look a little bit nicer, more matchy, straight. And we'll get the bottom one. And if your white isn't straight, you can straighten that out. Okay. Turn them around, and now I got to finish my first leg stripes so I can draw them towards me. Again, always rest your painting hand on your piece or your table. And if you get too much green on your white, you just got to go back and touch up your white again. Sometimes you have to go back and forth a couple times to get it so it looks nice and neat. And I can see my green through my white here, or my white through my green, so I'm going to get a little more green on there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we'll just keep working our way back around. And we'll get a little more green on there because I can see through it yet. And we'll do each one just a little more, just get so it's a more solid, full, even coverage of our bright green. So you could put polka dots on these tights. You could leave them solid. I did one with red and white stripes. I did one with red, green, and white stripes. You know, you can do whatever trips your trigger. Okay. So I'm actually going to start on the front side here, and I'll work my way back so I can pull it towards me. And we just meet them up. You can see this finger is resting right on my piece, and I'm just pulling it towards me. So now we have a nice first stripe there. We got rid of that white that was off and crooked, going uphill. So now you can see that stripe looks pretty straight. And we'll come back to our middle one, get him bright green. I'm just resting that painting hand right on that piece and drawing it towards me. And I need a little bit of water because my paint's a little thick there. It's not really spreading. So we'll just draw it right towards you. And the bottom part, and draw it right towards you. Brush it out. So I start in the green, merge over to the white, Start in the green, merge it to the white on the bottom. And we should be able to join these guys up. So you can straighten out your white a little more using the green too, so. Just draw it right towards you. Sometimes you got to change the angle a little bit so you can see it better. So I have a little, I'm just a little off right there and I can see it, and I'm going to try to match it up. So I start in the green and just merge over towards it. And there we go, we got it. Alrighty, so now we got our last one here on this leg. Okay, we're going to get our green, draw it towards you. So our green's a little narrow here, so I'm just going to go down on my white just a little bit, just to thicken it up a little bit, just so they look more even. I didn't go much, but I went a little bit. No, he's, whoa, almost lost my brush. He's a little, he kind of ends right here, so we'll kind of see if we have to go the whole way or not. Because his shoe is coming up, so you kind of have to adjust your stripes then. You have to think about, just like if you had tights on, how your shoe would be covering that up. So we actually stopped right there, and we'll pick up right here. And we'll just go from narrow to a little bit wider. So that's okay if your stripe stops and then starts back up, because that's how you keep it straight. I wouldn't want to come up with it or go down into my red shoe, so I just stop it right here. And make it a little bit more pointy. So it's more gradual. I am pointing away, I am pulling it away from me just so I can see better. So sometimes the rules aren't always rules. I mean, they're just suggestions on how to do it. Like pulling it towards you, it is easier to pull towards you, but now if I'm pulling this towards me, I can't see what's underneath that brush to know where to go with my green. So that's why I was pulling it away from me, so the brush wasn't in the way. So sometimes you have to change things and do it so that it works for you. So if I'm pulling this, the brush, the silver is pulling up the tail part of that green, I can't see where to go. So that's why I'm going to turn my brush around and pull it away from me, because now I can see where that green needs to go. So there we go. Now we got to just do our other little part here, get him green to match. So we'll get that quick. And I'm just doing the same thing, just pulling it towards me, coming up to the bottom of his little red shirt, but leaving the dark black brown there in the crevice. I need a little water, my paint's not moving, meaning it's not like flowing off the brush, it's just kind of sticking. So you want that ink-like thickness when you're painting details, little straight lines like that. With the liner brushes, you need that paint just a little bit thinner so it flows. So just doing our green on our stripes here, and we're almost done with them. This is probably the putziest part of this month's box, although our birds got a little bit of putziness on their hats too, so You just keep drawing it towards you until you get it filled in. And now we'll turn him around. And we'll get the top part here. Again, I'm just drawing it towards me. Lining my green up with my white so I have a nice straight line there and it ain't all crooked and zigzaggy. You kind of want the whites and the greens to line up with each other as far as going this way. And get the next one. So I went up in my white a little bit, so I'll have to touch that up. Just grabbing my green and brushing it, pulling it towards me. Right where the green and the white meet. So now here I can see my white is thicker at this end than it probably should have came across straighter here, so we're actually going to cover that up a little bit. Just that little bit, just to straighten it out, will make a difference and make your line look straighter. So you can go back and look at your lines even after you have them down. You can still adjust them. You can see now that looks a lot straighter instead of the white coming uphill. It's just straight now, more level. So I'm going to put a little more green up here because I can see the white through. And same here. And you just keep at it till you got them nice and straight. A little more green here because we covered up that white and that wants to show through. And turn him. And I just want to get a little more green over here. Again, I'm just pulling it towards me, lining them up so they meet. Making sure I get good coverage of my greens. So now I'm gonna just look at them and they look like they're pretty level. Now I can see my greens not so good right here though. So we'll see if we can straighten this out a little bit. Kind of rushing so we can move on to the next step because you guys are probably sick of stripes here by now. So I'm gonna wash up my brush. And I'm going to grab some white, see if I can straighten that out a little bit, and then we'll move on. And I'm just going to get my white a little bit thin there, like ink. And I can see I have green on my white, so I'm just going to touch that up right here. And a little bit right here. So you can keep touching this up probably all night if you wanted. So you just have to decide where you're satisfied with it and what makes you happy. So I'm probably going to leave it at that right there. Look at the back, it looks pretty good. I got a little bit of green on the white here. So you can be really picky and just keep straightening them and straightening them, but that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that, so we'll leave our white and our green. So there's how you get your stripes. You just need a nice liner brush, and you thin your paint out like ink by dipping your brush in the water and then into your little paint, and then just steadying your hand onto your piece, pulling your brush towards you. Basically just your thumb and index finger are moving, and your hand, the rest of your hand is solid on your piece, and then you just paint and keep filling it in until you got it the way you want it. So there we go, we got our stripes. So what's next? Corey says it's 20 after. I think we can do our tree trunk. Well, then we got to do the hair too though. So maybe we'll let that, we can go to number 12 and we can do our silver buttons. That's not gonna hurt anything. Because then I have something to show you that was kind of a little sneak peek from this morning, if anyone's seen that. So again, I'm gonna probably use, probably use this little 5-0 liner again that I washed out. And I'm gonna grab my silver, because we're gonna go to number 12 and we're gonna paint our silver just because we don't have time to do his hair and his trunk, and I don't want to do it messy. So we're going to use our Duncan Ultra Metallic Silver UM956, and you always want to give that a good shake too. And we'll get a little puddle of that. And if you don't want silver buttons, of course you don't have to do silver buttons. So I just put my silver on my foil and I just dip my liner into my silver, and then you just paint on around his little flaps here, which kind of little button, the button flaps. I'm not sure what exactly they are, but I made these silver, I made another one's white, and I made another one green. So it all depends what color you want. And you just outline each of your little button flaps. You can see where they start and end. And if you wanted, you could use a little bit bigger brush, but this one actually works really nice because you do want to get that nice straight line around the edge where your red and silver meet. Again, you can see I'm drawing that brush towards me. I just grab a little bit of silver, start away from my edge, and then work towards the edge. That way I can see right where that paint is going. Then once I get in the middle, I can just brush back and forth and get it on there. And we need a little more on the top here. But I'm also resting my hand on my piece, just like when we were doing our stripes. So anytime you're doing that little detail work, you got to be steady. You got to have your hand steady. You got to rest it on your piece, and then draw that brush towards you. So I tend to do each side, and then I turn it around and do the other side. And you can fill in the little button hole part there, or you can leave it the black brown if you want. I filled mine in. Again, I just got that hand anchored on there and drawing it towards me. And using a 5-0 liner, detail liner. And we'll get our bottom button. And now I can turn him. This one's a little crooked, so I'll straighten it out. You see, just draw that brush towards you. That way you can see what you're doing usually. Anchor your hand on your piece so it's nice and steady. So even though most of the piece is dry brush, there's still little detail work on here you can paint out. It's just painted out. You probably could even put, like if you wanted this real glittery, after you were done, you could, and sealed it, you could brush on a gloss, brush on sealer on these little button flaps, and then sprinkle some silver glitter on there if you wanted to like really chic him up. So we'll fill this in. And the silver can take 2 coats. Sometimes you can see through the metallics. Again, I'm resting that 4th finger right on my piece. And just paint it out so it's all covered with our silver. And sometimes you got to change the angle of where you're looking at it, because those little belly's getting in the way here. Again, Again, still resting that hand on the piece, drawing it around, and then filling it in. So this was actually a good project to have the liner brush in because we've used it on 2 different parts of it tonight already. And we'll use it on the eyes as well. I just want to straighten that out a little more, it's a little crooked. Alright, filled in my black holes, so they're silver. There we go, so we got that done too. So, he's getting there. I washed out my brush. Put my paint aside here so you can see he's getting there. We'll get his hair next week and his tree trunk, and then we should be able to do his little eyes and his cheeks. And then we'll just start with our birds and get our pin lights glued in and our snow on. So we'll put that aside. And then our other little quick thing for tonight was that this morning, well actually all day today, I worked on our September box. Miss Courtney, want to zoom out for me? And we have our September box to show you painted. Are they all in there or not? Now they're all in? The long way they're in? Okay. So this is our September box. I'm not sure what we're calling it yet. Monster Mania, maybe? Yeah. They actually go with our pieces from last year, Mr. and Mrs. Frankie. That Courtney don't have up here. And we also have the Girl Witch that you could add as extra. And I don't see her either, but she's going to grab her and I'll get her painted as an example of next week too. So here's the Girl Witch that you could also add to the box if you wanted. You just message us and then Courtney will add it to your invoice and we'll cover the shipping.
I think she's $6.
Courtney thinks she's $6 and then we'll cover the shipping because she'll fit in your box for you to ship. But I'll get her painted too as an example. So we have our zombie, and I did put the gloss glitter on his bloody stains here and on his eyes. The brush on sealer. After he was sealed, I brushed on the gloss brush on sealer on his bloody things. You can see his ear. The worm got his ear chewed off, so he's got his ear laying here, and that's bloody. Then we have our werewolf, and he also has the gloss brush on sealer on his claws and on his fangs and the eyes. And that we'll be including in the box. A little pot. What are they called? Pots. Little pots of those. And then we have our mummy, who also has some blood stains with the gloss sealer on them, and then he's got some copper brown glitter that you'll be getting in your box as well to put on his buttons and on his little pockets. And then we have the vampire, and he also has the gloss brush on sealer on the eyes and the fangs. And then we use silver paint on his zipper. So that is going to be our September box. I don't believe Courtney will get that posted till Tuesday, excuse me.
Busy week. We're gone.
I have to take a drink, I was getting a dry throat. We're going to be gone tomorrow and Sunday. Excuse me. So she probably won't get the one-time purchases.
Let's just say Tuesday. I'll probably do it Monday.
The one-time purchase in case you're not a subscriber and you want just the box, but this is what is coming in the subscription box for September. And we do plan to have extras, so if you do want them, watch for Tuesday. Courtney will get that on our website, and she'll probably put it on our page too that it's posted. And what?
That's the dry
And this will be the dry brush that will be in that box as well. It's a number 8 round, so that's the start of the round dry brushes from September through December.
That one's $8 value.
And this is an $8 value as our extra in this box, so that's a biggie. That's in the hedgehogs or the in the Halloween box.
Halloween.
So the round ones start with the Halloween box, and it'll be number 8.
So you have to 8 flat. And
So then our August box is our hedgehogs, and you would have gotten an 8 flat in that box. So we would, and that was this brush. So if you've been subscribing since May, you now have a full set of flat brush dry brushes that are really good dry brushes. And we'll be painting our hedgehogs. We may be able to start with them next week, I'm not sure. The birds do take a little bit of time too, so it might be the following week, but these guys go really quick. So we'll still have plenty of time to do them. I'm also going to do one with more of the brown face and arms, so you can pick which one you want to do. So I'll try to get that one done by next week too. So tomorrow is a busy day for us. We're going out of town. We're going to get going to Marcella's down in Beloit to pick up some molds.
We could try and we might go live again.
Cordy said we might go live again. She might try it. We'll see. Then we're actually going to stop at Dream Acre Ceramics in Poinet. We hope to. She's making faces at me. I don't know.
The name.
Oh, yeah, that's it. I have an appointment. We have an appointment to stop.
Okay.
So it'll be Dream Acre Ceramics in Poinet, and then we'll be home. And then Saturday I'm going to finish up some stuff and firing and that kind of stuff. And then Sunday we're going to get molds.
Plus your palette came.
And plus our Clay Magic palette came today that has our Bisque box molds for October and November, and all of our new Yetis, all of our new Christmas gnomes, including last year's Christmas gnomes. What else? There's some other stuff in there too. Whatever's new, I don't remember. All the couple more truck inserts.
Family.
Oh, there's some Halloween gnomes. There's some Halloween gnomes on that palette too. So it was an expensive palette. It's probably the last palette of the year from Clay Magic. So we're looking forward to unpacking that. So we have a busy weekend. And all the gnomies. We have all the Christmas gnomies, including last year's. And the new releases, except for the houses and cabins. We weren't able to get those. The bank was broke. So maybe in the future we can get those. But we have all the Yetis and all the gnomies, all the Christmas gnomies and some Halloween gnomies, and then some more the truck inserts that were new, and then the trailer too. So we actually have 2 of the trailers on the palette. So that's our week, and hope you guys have a great week. Hope you enjoyed painting the stripes and learned some tips on how to do a little bit of detail using your liner brush that was in your box as our anniversary gift. We will hopefully get to start these guys next week. If not, it'll be the following week. Otherwise, we'll be finishing our elf and these 2 birds. But they do have a little bit of detail on them, so they may take just a little bit longer too. So we'll keep you guys posted, probably show some pictures of what's happening as we're loading molds and unloading molds and our trip out of town. So have a great week. Stay healthy, everyone, and have a great week.